Good morning, students. Today we shall be learning about tea cultivation. Tea is the name given to the dried leaves of a broad-leaved evergreen plant known as Thea sinensis. The word tea has most probably come from the word thea. Actually, tea comes from Camellia family. So with this, let us begin today's lesson. Your learning objective for today's lesson is you will be able to identify the favorable conditions for tea cultivation, and at the end of the lesson you will be able to identify and mark the areas on the Indian map for tea cultivation. Now let us consider some of the favorable geographical conditions. Tea requires the following favorable geographical and economical conditions for its growth. The first one under geographical condition is climate. Tea is a subtropical plant and needs hot and wet climate. Next is temperature. Tea requires temperature between 10 degrees centigrade and 35 degrees centigrade. The growth is retarded if it falls below 18 degrees centigrade. The most suitable temperature for tea growth is 25 degrees centigrade. Now let us consider the second geographical condition. The second geographical condition is rainfall. The tea plant needs a rainfall varying between 150 centimeter to 200 centimeter. The rainfall should be well distributed throughout the year. It cannot withstand long spells of dry weather at any season of the year. Next, humidity. High humidity, heavy dews, and morning fog favors rapid development of young leaves. Apart from that, we have the winter frost, and we know that tea grows well in shaded place and not a place which has direct sunshine. The geographical condition is relief. Almost all the commercially managed tea plantations are located in the highlands and on hill slopes where the natural drainage is good. Tea cannot tolerate stagnant water, and waterlogged lowland areas are thus least suited for tea cultivation. The third factor is soil. Tea requires well-drained sandy loam and porous subsoil. The sandy loam is considered the best soil for tea cultivation. The soil must be deep and have a moderately open texture. Virgin forest soils containing a good deal of iron and humus are also ideal for tea cultivation. Now students, what we just learned right now were the geographical conditions. Now we will move on to the favorable economic conditions. Now let us consider the first one. The first is labor. Tea cultivation and processing are labor intensive. The work of field preparation, weeding, manuring, pruning, and picking goes out throughout the year around for tea estates. Tea plucking requires abundant supply of cheap labor. Female labor is preferred for tea picking because it is a tedious job requiring both skills and patience. Plucking demands a skilled manipulation of fingers as with care, two leaves and bud are to be plucked out at the time. So students, what do we understand from this? We understand that it is extremely skill-based work where the female laborers, they go to the tea estate and what do? They pluck it very efficiently. How do they pluck? They pluck two leaves and one bud, and it has to be done carefully and efficiently so that the other leaves do not get damaged. The next is capital. Tea is a very capital intensive cultivation. Tea requires a heavy amount of capital, that is, a lot of money gets involved. Also, something which we need to consider with any kind of plantation crop is fertilizer. Tea is an exhausting crop and as such requires manuring of the soil. Students, we must make a note over here that initially when we were learning about different types of crops. We learned about rice, wheats and millets. But today when we are learning about tea, you must know that tea is a plantation crop. Other plantation crops in this field would be rubber. Rubber is also considered a plantation crop along with tea and coffee. Now let's move on to the distribution. As you can see from the map here, in India, if you focus on the northeast, let me just highlight it for you students. If we focus on the northeast area, that means these zones. Okay, students? So Assam, it contributes to 45% of India's tea. It ranks first in tea production. Tea estates numbering nearly 750 are to be found from Sadia to Golpara. Most of the tea is grown in the valleys of Brahmaputra and Surma. The main tea producing districts are Derang, Lakhimpur, Shipsagar, Naugong, Golpara, Kamrup and Kachar. So these are the various tea producing districts in Assam. Next we move on to West Bengal. West Bengal ranks second in tea production. Tea estates numbering nearly 350 are to be found here in Darjeeling, Jalpaiguri and Kuch Bihar district. The production of tea in West Bengal varies from 20 to 25% of India's total. Now students, we will move to the northern part of India, that is these zones. So when we consider the northern part of India, we have Uttaranchal. Important tea producing districts are Almora and Garhwal district. Next we have Himachal Pradesh. Kangra Valley is the main tea producing area in Himachal Pradesh. Now let us move towards South India. In South India, we have Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Karnataka. These states contribute about 19% of the total Indian tea. In South India, tea estates are concentrated in the mountain region of Nilgiri, Cardamom, Palni and Anaimalai. Tamil Nadu ranks third in tea production. So with this, we get a fairly rough idea about the distribution of tea estates in India. So now we shall learn about tea export. India is the leading tea export in the world. India's tea is exported to many countries such as UK, Russia, USA, European countries, Arabian countries and others. Maximum tea is exported through the port of Kolkata. Now there are certain tea research centers. In India, tea research centers are located at Jorhat, which is in Assam. This picture which you are seeing is taken in front of Jorhat, which is in Assam, and Coimbatore, which is in Tamil Nadu. With this, students, we come to an end of the production, that is a plantation crop, that is tea plantation. If you have any doubts or queries regarding this portion of your chapter, please mail me at rima.sma@outlook.com. Apart from that, you need to mail me the question answers that are to be followed at the end of the lesson. Thank you, students.